Hello guys, this is Feeding Frenzy 91, bringing you some more Walking Dead character bios, where I talk about the characters in depth and what they meant to the Walking Dead game. Talk about whether they were good characters, whether they were unfinished, stuff like that. Now, today I have a character that was extremely overlooked, though very important and very complex, and people didn't give her credit for that. The character's name would be Katjaa. Now, I know most people think she was a really normal character, but she actually had so much different personalities that people just didn't catch. When you first meet Katja, she seems like this regular, she's Kenny's wife, she has a son. She's a regular mother figure. She takes Clementine under her wing, starts talking to her, which is good since, Clementine kind of needs that motherly figure in her life. Actually, the first time I met Katja, this is kind of off the note, but I thought she was pregnant. I don't know, maybe it's the way she was sitting in this scene. It just kind of made me think she was like a couple months pregnant. I don't know why. But anyway, other than that, Katja actually seems. The reason most people thought that Katja wasn't important character is because she was too, what I would say, normal. Now, there's one problem with this theory. In a world where everybody is abnormal, the norm becomes something different, meaning that the norm becomes the abnormal, and Katja actually is the abnormal in this world because she is normal for our world today. She was kind. She didn't freak out when crap hit the fan. She really was a calm character and very pacifist. But so, like, she was abnormal in the world she's in, even though she's normal to us. So, actually, Katja is the most abnormal character in this game because of her normality. Now, I know that's kind of a weird concept, but it actually makes sense in a world where everybody's turning on each other and there's one person that just decides not to, then that actually makes them abnormal, even though that's what you would think is normal. All right, let me stop dwelling on that. But once again, Katja, when you first meet her, she's very regular, mother, someone you'd expect. So she's not someone to just like automatically stick out, which I actually loved because this game had too many people just automatically sticking out as like just not the best people when you first met them, especially when you get to the drugstore. When we get to the drugstore, it's actually strange, but I love how Katja immediately separates herself from the argument. She goes over and starts cleaning duck, and most people don't notice is that she's kind of, in a sense, saying, guys, you guys can argue about what we're doing here, but screw it. I'm here. My son is in here. We're staying. I don't care if you guys are arguing about throwing us out or not. He is staying here. Now, when Larry comes to throw him out, I love how Katja also remains calm, in a sense. Like, she is, oh, I'm cleaning him up, so just wait till I'm done, kind of like trying to stall in a sense. But other than that, Katja actually has very little to do in this particular drugstore scene. She actually comes up much stronger you learn more about her personality after the duck scene, depending on which side you chose. But I'm gonna actually, if you chose to be loyal, then it's not much of a difference. But I'm gonna actually show what happens if you chose what Katja says to you, even if you choose to either remain silent or throw Duck out.
Kenny, Lee's a good man, and we're all still strangers here.
I love how Katja shows that she's very forgiving. She also thinks the best of people. She gives people the benefit of the doubt, especially with that scene where even if you want to throw her child out, she'll say you're a good man and stuff like that. And then comes around episode 2. Katja was very a, a main character in episode 2, though not for all of it. But I loved how she like took the role as doctor. She's a vet. She doesn't exactly know how to deal with humans, but she does it anyway. I love how she's just willing. And I actually also love how Katja completely denies the food, even if you give some to Duck, unlike Kenny. It was kind of a little way of her saying like give it to someone, even though she says give it to Duck. She was like I don't need it, kind of like how Lee can be like better to think of these others rather than myself, which is it shows that she thinks of others before she thought of herself. Now, also, people didn't understand how aware Katja was and how paranoid she was of this farm. Now, notice in this scene that before Lee, like, even though he does say they're eating human meat, right? If you say they're eating human meat, you can actually not say anything and the reaction will still be the same. But notice in this scene that everybody is turning on Lee. Even Kenny is like Come on, Lee. You're after Lee says you're eating human meat, everybody's like you're acting crazy. This isn't happening. Blah 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 blah. Notice what Katjaa does while everybody is telling Lee he's crazy. Right here, Katjaa takes Duck's food away. Like people didn't realize how paranoid because Katjaa acts normal, but this actually showed that she was suspicious of these farmers. The fact that she's the first person to take the food away, even Kenny says you're scaring the kids. Like it's crazy that this is human meat. But the fact that Katjaa is the only one to believe Lee in this situation shows that she is actually aware that something was up about this farm. Now, to further prove the theory, in unused audio, like I told you before, episode 2 really was not supposed to turn out this way, but how episode 2 was supposed to go, it was actually supposed to be Katjaa, not Kenny, who was paranoid of the door in the barn. She was actually supposed to help Lee distract the brothers so that he could find out what it was, not Kenny. So initially it was supposed to be Katjaa, and I would have loved to see that, like Lee and Katjaa working together, like see Katjaa's paranoid side, because even though they left a little bit of it in there with her taking the food away from Duck before anybody else even realizes what's going on, they kind of like Katjaa was kind of seemed like trusting of these farmers. The minute they came in, it just seemed like she was really trusting. But then you got to really notice these things, especially with Katjaa, since she's very subtle. Another thing about this episode with Katjaa, it actually showed how, with like the fact that she took while she was under, it shows how she can be sneaky. She took Lee's stuff while she was supposed to be looking after while she was with Brenda in the house. Now, people don't get that, but that showed how Katjaa can be like very subtle. Because think of it, if Brenda's watching Katjaa like a hawk, how should she really sneak out and get Lee's camera and his other stuff? And the fact that she even thought about it was shows how caring she was toward the group. Like she's like, oh, this is Lee's stuff. Let me just sneak and get it while, even though my son's in danger right now. Also, if you notice, Katjaa seems to turn on her husband in a way.
Ken, that's not fair.
In episode 3, Katjaa and Kenny are definitely not on the same page, like in any degree. And what's strange, if you don't agree with Kenny, Katjaa actually agrees with Lee more often. So you'd think that her being Kenny's wife, that she would agree with her husband. But if you like didn't agree with Kenny on Larry, if you didn't agree with Kenny like with certain things like with the girl and everything, all of a sudden Katjaa is more agreeant with you. And it kind of made me think, honestly, when I first was playing this, it kind of made me think that maybe this was a little bit weird. Like, why is this dude's wife seem to be agreeing with me a lot rather than him? But it just shows more to her personality. The fact that she was very strong-willed. She wasn't even going to agree with her husband when she knew it was wrong. Though eventually you kind of see why. It seems like Katjaa believes that Kenny is not the same man she married, and it is true that Kenny changed. I mean, she even says it herself.
Everything keeps changing.
So it kind of shows that she, in a sense, has this is like not my husband, and she like is just not agreeing with him as you would think she would. So it kind of speaks against her character once again as a strong-willed, which kind of goes against her passiveness towards almost everything. But it actually, I liked how they kind of gave a hint that she was like, in a sense, I don't like that happened. But I kind of like how they gave hints that she was kind of losing faith in her husband during this whole episode 3, which we know what leads up to. But I also like how it showed that she really cared for Leah, especially with this scene right here.
All right, don't worry about me.
I do.
And I mean, that was really nice. That was really sweet when she said, like, I do worry about you. Which is, and also even in this scene, like, she is right now disagreeing with Kenny again. Kenny does not trust Chuck when he first comes in, but Katjaa immediately trusts him. And Katjaa also has good sense of people. Notice that she didn't immediately trust the farmers, but she trusted Chuck immediately. And of course, Kenny, being paranoid, is all like, let's not trust Chuck. And I love how she looks at him like, Kenny, we're keeping Chuck. Like, it's like, Kenny, I don't care what you say, Chuck is staying. So let's kind of wrap her character up a bit before I go with, what happens next. Everybody knows what happens in episode 3 with her and her son. So let's kind of wrap her up. Katjaa comes off as a very nice, very like loving person, which she is. But she also has a pacifist nature. Kind of like, okay, that's cool for you, that's cool for me, that's cool for everyone. It kind of shows how she still thinks Lee's a good man, even when he tries to throw her son out. But then she also has a strong will which contradicts her pacifist nature, which comes out in episode 2. and also mostly episode 3 when she's like constantly disagreeing with her husband. Also, but then again, her wanting to take the items from the car once again contradict her pacifist and her loving nature. Honestly, when Katjaa agreed with Kenny to take the items, I was dead surprised because Katjaa is. You think of her as this person who's always going to do the right thing, but then you realize that even this nice Christian mother, when she's dead hungry, she's going to take things from a wagon. She even tells Duck, like Duck is telling them, no, this could be someone else's, and Katja is like, it's abandoned, don't worry. Even though Katja had to know, she's smart, she had to know that someone probably just left this car. I mean, the lights are still on. I mean, everything's still there. But anyway, so Katja actually had all these moments which contradicted with what you thought of her, and almost nobody noticed that because Katja was such a normal person. Even with Dusk's death, Katja seems so strong. She seems like, yes, she seems the voice of reason like she always is. But then what happens? She goes and commits suicide. And that, I think, was kind of everything just piling in. That kind of showed her lack of faith in Kenny, which I don't like saying, but it seems like that happened. That she really lost, like, after, like, Duck was the only thing keeping her there that I really, can see. Because committing suicide in front of her husband before, rather than, waiting for her son to die, most people just thought it was the sadness of Duck, but I really think it's the loss of faith in Kenny. The fact that like she won't even like keeps asking Lee, "You need to help me with Duck. You need to do this," because she knows Kenny's not going to do it. So she finally commits suicide as a kind of thing, saying that Duck was the last thing really that she was staying alive for, and it's kind of selfish how she left Kenny, but it kind of shows, which most people miss, that she really just this wasn't the marriage that she had beforehand. It definitely wasn't the happy couple you saw in episode 1, and especially when they're on the couch and they were like arguing over guns and stuff, and like Lee can come in and be kind of a prick and be like about the guns, and then she looks at Kenny and goes, "Thank you, Lee," like you stupid husband, what are you doing? But anyway, Katja, I really loved her character. It was more complex than most people thought. So other than that, thanks for watching. Comment, subscribe, and God bless.